I know that there were probably some confusion about purchasing the product, and so things have changed a lot since I was on here last time. So if you go to the website and you will hit the U.S. Constitution student course, student course material, and then you should be able to have the option of picking either you want the video or you want the kit or you want certain things on there. So you can actually, uh, yeah. So if you go down, so you can go to courses and student material, okay, and then you can hit that one right there. Oh, there it is. Yep, there you go. My brain is, I'm a little tired. There you go. Okay, so you hit course, and then you can actually pick whichever one you want. For that one, you can go to the saddleback leather. Okay, never mind. No, 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 no. Go to student manual only, and then you can just hit that, and you can just purchase that, or you can just purchase the whole kit. So I'm the link. I'm sorry. What did you say again? Yes, the link is in the description. So there you go. Okay, and then you can just purchase that. So uh, they have like various options. I know if you would like to watch the videos and all that stuff, you can actually become a member, and you can have access to all of that, everything, the digital copies and all that stuff for, I think I pay like $11 a month. So, but you got, huh? No, this is through the AmericanView.com, website. So I was able to become a member there, and I have access to all of that stuff. And they have like various other courses on there too, like for sheriffs and like they are working currently on Minnesota State Constitution right now, like having a course dedicated for Minnesota State Constitution. I know there is a gal in Princeton. Matter of fact, her name is Elizabeth Schomburg, and she is our chapter leader actually, who is working on having our Minnesota State Constitution course, and that's going to be plugged, into here also. So, yeah, yes, sir. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was like, did I send that to you, or I'm trying to understand. So, did you pay for the course? You said a month. Is that what you're saying? Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So yes. So we are gonna be watching videos here also. All right. So that way, you guys can be introduced to it, and then you can just go home and basically review it, and and basically think it over, and you can have your thoughts about it, and then I will be sending you guys homework, such as the emails that you guys were supposed to get, and and then we will be coming back here and discussing it, and then talking about it, and just bouncing back, ideas off of each other, and just having a discussion about it. So I think that kind of helped solves the registration process. I think you guys got that. All right, and did you guys get the emails, all of you, or most of you? If if you didn't get it, you guys can talk to me later because I I couldn't read a couple of the writing, and then some of them was just me not being able to make out like the one that was in somebody else's email. So, all right. So lecture one. So this was timely. Like this was a timely, uh, just a timely bill and just a timely thing. And I would say the Lord definitely had His hand in it. So, but just because lecture one deals with a lot of what our founding fathers call pretended pretended legislations within our Declaration of Independence. Grievance 13 and Grievance 19 talked about the king. Um, why don't I just read it to you? Grievance 19 of our uh, 13 says that he has combined others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Grievance 19, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offense. So we have become a nation living under this whole pretended legislation. Everything we know, or every mostly how our government is ran, a lot of it is pretended legislations. It means that it's not law, but all of us just kind of just follow along, and or people ignorantly do not know that it's not law, right? So this is the new norm, or this is the norm that has been within our nation for about 100 years now. And I was supposed to, I think I sent you guys another email about how tyranny came to America. If you guys haven't gotten it yet, I will send that out to you. But but that's because of the ignorance of our state of being right now, and so, but there is hope. And email one, did you guys get that? Do you guys have it with you right now? Okay. If you guys want to go to to email one, and we can just go over that right quick, because for me, I am heartily passionate about this. I am so passionate about this, and I truly believe that as believers, that we need to be in the forefront of this. We need to be the one leading the way. I love conservatism. I love people like Mark Levin, and all of those guys. But those guys are not believers. Okay, they are not believers. So to me, a conservative that is not saved and a Democrat that is not saved, to me, they are. I mean, they are in the same boat, because they do not have God's spirit in them, restraining them, um, correcting them, um, giving them wisdom, guiding them. So they are not fit to be leading our politics. They aren't. So believers need to be involved in every way possible. And you guys obviously, got that. You guys obviously understand that. And I know for me, that's what I am always harping about and encouraging others, believers, get involved. I don't care what it is. Just go do something. Go and talk to your legislators. Go and hassle them. I mean, for me, back in 2020, I used to go see mine, all two of them, and they are heavily Republican. I mean, just heavily Democrats, right? And I used to go there every week. Like I used to take my kids and my wife with me, and I used to pull out the bills, and I used to ask them questions. I used to hassle them, like, hey, how come you're pushing this bill? Can you tell me why? And a couple times they will see me coming and they will turn around and start running the other way. That just, so, but they sure do know me, so I didn't start teaching this and started doing it. I kind of fell into teaching this because I was already doing it, so, but yeah. Yep. So as believers, you know, um, you know, our founding fathers believes that believers should be in politics, right? Because nowadays, politics is a dirty topic. Nobody talk about it. Religion, politics, nobody talk about it. Christians, it's so dirty. Why don't we just stay out of it? To me, that is a doctrine of demons. That is, because politics, I mean, and part of that is because of the wording. You know, the word have been degraded so much now that people do not understand the true meaning of politics. So because of that, I use Webster 1828 dictionary, because I was trying to understand their mindset versus our mindset nowadays. Politics then and politics now, definition is so different. Like the definition is very, very different. So it's just one of those simple things. But yeah, so why don't we read James A. Garfield, wording about should Christian be involved? He says, now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation do not aid in controlling the political force. So let that sink in. And then Charles Finney said, the time has come that Christians must vote for their honest men and take consistent grounds in politics. God cannot sustain this free and blessed country which we love and pray for unless the church will take the right ground. God will bless or curse this nation according to the course Christians take. So politics, Webster 1828. Politics is the science of government, the part of ethics, which which consists in the regulation and government of a nation or a state for the preservation of its safety, peace, and prosperity. Also for the protection of its citizens in their rights, with the preservation and the improvement of their morals. So that's what they thought about back then when they thought about politics, right? Because the mindset was that everyone believed in God. There was a presupposition that people had God upon their mindset. The reality is we do, but 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 nowadays, God has been removed, so everything else is falling apart. So politics itself, who is better equipped to preserve people morals? It's us. It's us, guys. It is no one else. It's us. It is our responsibility to be involved. It is our duty to be involved. I know I'm talking to the acquirer here, but you guys are on the right side of history, because I know countless of other churches. I mean, I have friends that I love dearly. They would not even want to even talk about this stuff, but they will talk about the work that God is doing great. That's fine. I am not speaking against that. Some of us are called to that. Some of us aren't. Let us let let us support each other, right? Let us support each other. I get that my buddies do not care about politics, but you know what? Why don't you pray for me when I'm going there Thursday? When I'm going to the state capitol, why don't you be praying for me? Because that's what I need. We need to be one body, and yeah. So yes. So no one else is equipped for this. Mark, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and all of those other guys. Those guys are great. Do not get me wrong. But if they are not believers, to me, I I mean, I still will listen to them and still take stuff from them, but they're not. Yeah, they're not. So let us as believers, we just continue to just be involved. Just definitely get into it. So should Christians be involved in politics? Overwhelmingly, yes, because there is no one else equipped for it. No one else. Absolutely not. I hope this email kind of helps put a little light on that. Right. Email 1-2. The foundation and purpose of American government and the law in the words of their founders. So last week I kind of touched on a little bit of these words that are very fundamental and very important, and this is how we can understand our governmental system, and is there an issue? So the Mayflower Compact. uh, when I was in school, um, I briefly remember them even like teaching it, or even recommending it. You know, um, I was told that it wasn't a governmental document, and I'm like, and I vividly remember that in school. So, so now I'm like, it was such a lie, right? It was such a lie. So, so is America a Christian nation? Absolutely. So my answer to that is I do not even reference our Declaration of Independence or our U.S. Constitution. I just do not even reference that first. Oh, I go straight for this. This is a governmental document, the Mayflower Compact. It says, having undertaken this voyage for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith. This is why America was even started. So Christianity can be lived out. So if that is not a Christian nation, then I don't know what is. I go for this every single time. I say, you are absolutely lying because you are ignorant and you do not know. This is a governmental document. It says straight up, for the advancement of the Christian faith, not any other faith. It's the Christian faith. So forget the U.S. Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. Go straight for the jugular. Tell them you do not know what you are talking about. Because that's why America was started. It wasn't only for religious freedom. Because we also heard that lie also that it was for religious persecution. Another thing too for that was that the Puritans already had religious freedom in Holland, but um, but Ho- but Holland was so corrupt they didn't want to raise their family you know in Holland, so they wanted to find a place where they can raise their families. They came with women and children. That didn't sound like they came to pillage the Indians and rape, steal, kill people, does it? Okay. Yep. And I think I touched on the other one that I touched on last week was the law of nature's God, which is the moral law contained in the Ten Commandments written by the finger of God, and the law of nature, a rule of conduct arising out of the natural relation of human beings established by the Creator and existing prior to any positive, which is written precept. Thus, it is the law of nature that no man should not conjure another, and murder and fraud would be crimes independent to any written prohibition from any supreme law. So this is from Webster 1828 dictionary. So we have read that before, the law of nature and nature's God, but we kind of just breeze over it. Yeah, whatever. What does that mean, right? Because but that right there is the foundation of our laws, of every single law that we establish within our country should be filtered through that. The law of nature and of nature God is the Bible and our conscience. So a law like this, a law like this, right? that is supposed to be a law. So let us filter this law within the concept of the law of nature, nature's God. Does it pass the test? So what is this called then? According to our founders, what will this be called? Hint, grievance 13 and grievance 19 that we just talked about earlier of the Declaration of Independence. Null and void, okay, what else? But remember, I read it earlier and I talked about it. Pretended legislation. So this is not American. This law does not pass the test. This is pretended legislation. For years and years of abuse, this was what our freedom was fought for because of abuses like this, right? Okay. So this will not pass legally. And we will talk about things being legal and being right also. So let's go over, did you guys answer the true or false questions at all? So you guys didn't even get that far because you have to have the book. Okay, got it. That makes sense. Okay. Nope, that's okay. But yeah, so that kind of throws a damper in my, but anyways, yeah, so. Oh, I have a lot more other topics that we can, talk about. But yeah, so, all right. So let us just go down to the very basic and just build, just build up. So we know that this bill would not pass God's, standard or our founders. Okay? So abortion isn't a physical, abortion is a spiritual problem, right? So how can we get our fellow Americans to be able to understand that, to be able to see that? The answer is, prayer, and then we just have to keep going at it one single person at a time. Because legally, they can follow all of the legal process. Doesn't mean that it's right. They can follow all the legal ways and means, but doesn't mean that it's a law and that it's actual, American, a law. So we have to start with our circle of influence, our family, our friends. Tyranny did not come to America overnight. It didn't. It took years and years of chipping away at our foundation, chipping away at our foundation of morals. So it's going to take plowing and lots of work on our end as believers and good neighbors and good stewards of wherever God has us. Starting up those conversations. And you can talk about religion and politics, people. You can talk about that, right? Because religion is what? Religion is someone's belief. That's all it is. Whether it's your personal belief or it's a group of people get together and say, we are going to believe that there are some green people on Mars. Or we're going to believe the earth is flat. Don't get me started on that. Okay. Just had to get over that. Yeah. But yeah, so or belief in fishing, believe in whatever, hunting, whatever it is, right? We can have those conversations. Let's talk about those conversations with our family and friends and then bring it back to God. You know, it's no different than evangelizing people, you know, just finding those interests that someone likes. Um, the guy that led me to the Lord was probably one of the greatest evangelists that I've ever encountered in my life. Like he was this guy from Chicago, this former gangster, and he was a scary guy. He uh, he was a scary guy. Like either you listen out of fear or you listen out of respect, but you will listen to him. Like that's how much of a fire he had, and but he could turn everything back to God, everything. Like it was the weirdest thing that I could just sit back and just watch him do it, and he's talking about something totally off the wall, and then all of a sudden he has people talking about God, and and for me, I was like, that's where that's where I would like to be. That was my example for how I can walk, you know. But everything came back to God, and he was able to do that. So the religion and the politics stuff goes hand in hand because you cannot have one without the other, you know. So that is the answer for how we can be able to share that. So let's take another one. Um, Another pretended legislation that I think healthcare, healthcare, because healthcare is a right now. Did you guys know that, right? Nancy Pelosi said that we must pass it before we can know what's in it. You guys remember that? Oh yeah, remember that, right? Let's pass it, and then we can read it. What was that? Exactly. Yeah. You know. So is healthcare a right? Oh, it's healthcare is a law, right? It's a law that all of us deserve healthcare. No, just the poor people. Okay, so where is that in our U.S. Constitution? How is that supposed to be then? Are they supposed to promote specific welfare or general welfare? But that's specific, right? That is specific to a specific group of people. So that is what we also call a pretended legislation. But it's also stealing, right? Because you're taking money from one group of people without their permission, by the way, which is stealing. Because if you take something without asking for it, that's stealing. So according to the laws of nature, nature God, that is stealing because stealing goes against the characteristic and the nature of God. God is light, and in him there is no darkness, right? So if you're stealing, you're going against, is that the fifth commandment, kids? Remind me again, because my brain is, I can't remember, you know. So that goes against God's nature, and that's stealing. So that doesn't pass that test either. So, but we all have been accustomed to all of those things now because that is the way of life. It started chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. Now we have all of these specific welfares and all of these things that all of us just like, well, isn't that how it's always been? Isn't that the way it is? Well, yeah, that is the way it is, but that doesn't mean that's how it's supposed to be. So everything that I'm saying here um, isn't some revolutionary thing. It's what caused a revolution, but it's not something new. So we can start correcting these things by telling our family and friends. Just because that's the way it is doesn't mean that's how it's supposed to be. And you can show them the laws of nature and nature's God. That key right there is the most ignored word or phrase that if we were to just focus on that alone, we will wipe out 90% of our government right now. Wipe it out. Just like how, so I will encourage you guys to just read that and and just get accustomed to that phrase. So, um, so my my last class, someone asked me, "Well, Alex, so what if we get rid of, all of these, government system that we depend on?" Because that is the fear that all of us are dependent on these things that we already have. So how do we function outside of that? I'll just go back to the U.S. Constitution. It tells us, you know, it shows us how we can function as far as a country. But then, part of it is also just thinking how um, I'm trying not to get too far into because the next couple teaching kind of talks about that. It talks about jurisdictions and stuff. So, but I guess I can just touch on it just a little bit. Um, but as far as Christianity goes, um, we have the most generous, the most gracious, the most the most generous and gracious faith out there, and the smartest, because Christianity, or you know, literally literally liberated the world out of poverty, out of illiteracy, and just out of just darkness, right? So reminding him of that, because he kind of lost that vision, because he was so dependent on what we already had, versus turning to a God and saying, "Well, Lord, what like what now?" Instead of turning to the government and being dependent on the government for answer. So I don't have all of the answers for when we abolish all of the crazy, overspending and all the crazy stuff that we have. But I think someone does. Some, I think some spirit-filled person has enough wisdom, for us to be able to debate these conversations, talk about it, wrestle with it, versus just rushing to just pass some bill because it's the easiest thing to do. We can talk about these things, and um, so that was my answer to him, as far as just that we just cannot be comfortable with what we have, because that is an easy cop out. We must be willing to sacrifice those comfortabilities for doing what God has required us to do.